welcome to Build Series. I'm your host, Lauren Moraski from HuffPost. You know Rob Thomas from the band Matchbox 20 and their hits 3 a.m. and Real World. Well, the Grammy-winning songwriter has a successful solo career as well with the single Smooth and Lonely No More. And this spring, he's releasing a new album featuring the song One Less Day. Please welcome the one and only Rob Thomas. Rob, welcome to Build Series. We're so excited to have you here today.
This place is awesome. There's a good energy here.
Yeah, good energy. We got a lot of fans in the crowd here today coming out for you on the snowy day here in New York.
Crazy day. You guys get combat pay for that. Thank you. That's really cool.
Real fans here for what is the making of what I think is a hit single, man.
I appreciate it from your lips. That's really nice.
Yeah, this song, One Less Day, is excellent.
It just feels good to have it out there. I mean, it's been like, you feel like every time you do something, it's like your little secret. You sit on it, and it's you and a couple of your friends, and you just have it in like a little vacuum. And so today, like I woke up with this feeling of like, it's out there. Yeah. Oh gosh, yeah.
You know, it doesn't make you nervous at this point in your career?
Yeah, of course it does. I mean, because you want people to like something that you worked hard on and something that means a lot to you. But at the same time, I think more anxious than anything. Yeah. You're just anxious that you're kind of out there. I believe in energy a lot, and so I think like having your song out there and being that other people listen and you're a part of this energy now that you weren't before.
Yeah, and now the fans have got to hear it for the first time. And just talk about the genesis of the song, because it's talking about a deep issue, but it's also like uplifting at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, it was. We over the last few years, we've lost some really close friends of ours. We've lost a lot of people way before their time, and it makes you realize that as much as when you're young, you start thinking about, I don't want to get older, you appreciate getting older. And it's a privilege that's not afforded to everyone. And it's also way better than the alternative, which is very bleak, of not growing older. And so this was a song about embracing the idea of not just not being afraid of getting older, but like really wanting to do it, looking forward to doing it, wanting to see what the future is going to hold for as long as you can.
Some of those people that we lost, I understand George Michael was one of those people that you were thinking about. Kind of talk about him and some of the other characters in your life and people in your life that you were thinking about.
Well, you know, we lost George a couple Christmases ago. He was a good friend of ours and a big friend to our family and our camp. And it was on Christmas Day, and it was a sad call. And then the following Christmas, we lost Jason Browning, who was our tour manager, my best friend in the world. That was a devastating blow because it was one of our own that we lost way too soon. But at the same time, like when I was a kid, I had a friend, my best friend Hub, when I was living on the street, and his parents let me live in his house, and I would live with them in their bedroom and get up and go to school every day. And he committed suicide just after high school. So I don't think it's just about people my age and people who want to be able to get old, but it's about people who are in their teens and want to make sure that they make it to their 20s and 20s to 30s and so on and so on. I think it's an issue of just people falling away too soon and really appreciating the fact that every day that you get is really more special than you might realize.
Right, and making the most of it too,
exactly.
Right? Do you feel like you're wiser now that you're older?
No.
Really?
I feel like I know more things, but then everything that I learn, it comes equipped with a sense of perspective. So everything that I learn, I also get a wider scope on it. And I realize all that I don't know about it. Mm-hmm. So everything that I think I know, I only know things that pertain to my life and my situation, but I really don't know anything about other people's situation or anything about the world at large. And so I really realize that all of us are just kind of swimming around and floundering around through that. And maybe if there's anything that's close to wisdom, it's that idea that you realize that you don't know everything. Yeah. And that sometimes that's a really, really big step in life, because when I was 20, I thought I knew everything. And maybe that's good, because if I didn't, I probably would have never started playing music for a living, because I would have went, well, you're never going to make it, kid. And then I would have just stopped.
Yeah. You wouldn't have that confidence, sort of that like, okay, I'm going to make this happen.
Yeah, you've got to have like a sense of disbelief of the odds. You have to actually think for a minute that you're going to be the one that's going to defy the odds. And then sometimes you are.
And you did. Yeah. I mean, take me back to that time when you're the 20-year-old Rob Thomas, when you're like, okay, I'm gonna start a band and I'm gonna make this happen for myself against all the odds.
Well, I mean, first off, I found a talent for it. I found a talent for writing songs, and I found a talent for wanting to sing. At the time, I don't think I had a talent for singing. It was just something I wanted to do. But I think I wasn't really good at anything else. Do you know what I mean? Like there was nothing, like I didn't know anything about cars or sports or technology. Like I didn't have any other skills. This was something that I felt like I was good at, and it was the thing that made me feel like I stood out and I was special. Then when I started to do it, when my 20s started to come, 18, 19, 20, 21, all of a sudden then I didn't go to college. All right, that could be a problem. I didn't get in the ground floor of like a real career. All right, that might, then I got to a point where if this didn't work, I was really screwed. And it became like one of those things where it's a very fine line between me being 47 and having a conversation with you about being a tenacious musician and it working out, and me being a 47-year-old musician sleeping on my friend's couch, still waiting for my band to take off. And it's a very fine line between those two things. There's a lot of luck that has to happen and timing that has to happen in between those two moments.
Absolutely. I mean, that was the thing. Your first album hit so huge. Yeah. Do you feel like it was more about timing? Was it luck? Was it a combination? Talent?
Obviously luck. I mean, I think talent in the sense that everybody who gets to that level of making a record you have to be a little talented, and that's just the starting point. Like, that's a ticket that gets you in there. But for us, I think we didn't realize that we were at the tail end of a time in the music industry where everything was going to change as well. Like, when we first came out, and it was 20-something years ago, it was a pretty standard way of doing business in the music business that had been going on since the 50s. You make a song, a label likes the song, they sign you. You make a video, you make a record, then you put that record on the radio plays that record. If they play it enough, people buy your record, then they come see you live, and you become a famous musician. That's just how those things go. Then everything changed right after that. So I don't think we realized what we bought ourselves by having a successful first record. So when you have it, you have two things that happen simultaneously. One, you have to live it down, because you just sold 15 million records on your first record, and everybody thinks you certainly don't deserve it. You know, like, you're a flash in the pan, your luck, it's definitely the sophomore record's not gonna work. But then you also get this sense of having to live up to it, and you feel like, okay, now I need to go out and be as good as I think these people think that I think I am, right? Yeah. Like, I have to go out and I have to, and I want to be a better musician, I want to be a better songwriter because I've been given this opportunity by this success. So
what is your perspective on that now, having, 20 somewhat years later, where you fit into the fold in the music industry as a whole?
I stopped worrying about it.
Yeah.
Like, I think I found over the last 20 years a nice group of people that care about what it is that I'm going to do next, and I feel like I'm speaking to those people and to a few new uninitiated that might come in, and now a lot of their children. Yeah. But I think you kind of stop worrying about that part of it. You're not going to control those things anyway. You just want to make sure that you're doing something that feels right to you and the reason why you write music, and at the same time, it's going to appeal to the same kind of people that have liked you when you started.
You talked a little earlier about, realizing whether you can sing or not. At what point did you realize I can actually write songs too?
I used to write songs all the time, but they were always like, there were these love songs that were kind of like schlocky versions of Lionel Richie songs that were just used to help me meet girls in high school because I was awkward. And this is the only way that I could, have a girl want to talk to me. Especially, again, because I grew up in the South. I don't know anything about sports. I don't know anything about cars. I don't know anything about guns. There was nothing I could do. And I was weird, and I had 2 earrings and weird hair, and I was just a weird kid. I still am, kind of. I'm just a weird adult. I think when I was like 19 or 20, 21, I wrote 3 a.m. And that was the first song that I wrote that was about something in my life, because I wrote it about my mom who had cancer when I was like 12 or 13, and it was about going through that experience. And it was the first time that I'd used a song as some sort of a catharsis. And it was the first time I'd actually wrote about something that was in my life that I had something to say. And that changed the game for me. Then I wanted to start writing songs about what I was going through. And in all honesty, I feel like I got closer on this record than I did on my last 2 records, and I feel like but now I see where I want to go on the next record, and ways that I could get a little more intimate, and ways that I can be more honest when I write.
Well, that's exciting, because we like One Less Day, but can you tell us a little bit about what we can expect from the rest of the album that's out in April?
I don't want to say it's going to melt your face, it's so good, but no, I'm really proud of it. I worked on it for a while with Butch Walker. Butch is also another great songwriter. He's a great producer. He's a great singer. So having his ear and having to step up to his standards put me at a different place where I really needed to perform and shine for him. And I think there's an excitement in the way that he recorded this record that we probably haven't had in the past. There's a lot of 80s on this record. Ooh. I'm an 80s kid growing up, so everything from, on this one, we have a little bit of Big Country, the band Big Country at the end, the Celtic vibe was our Big Country moment. And we have Phil Collins moments, and we have Foreigner moments, and Cutting Crew moments. And we just kind of moved through all of our favorite stuff of the 80s. And so that was the only defining thing was okay, well, what period is this? So we have a song on there that's our it's our Bruce Springsteen Tunnel of Love 80s period song. And like each one of those was like we would just pick a reference of where we wanted to go, stylistically with it. So I think that was kind of exciting.
Oh, I love it. Tunnel of Love, that whole album is one of my favorites.
Yeah. Brilliant
It's
Disguise, are you kidding me?
Yeah, the whole album is so great. So I can't wait to hear that song.
Every time I hear a song like that, that's when like I feel really good about myself. And then I listen to Brilliant Disguise and I'm like, I've never written a song in my entire life.
But yet you've had many accolades, Songwriter of the Year awards and all that kind of stuff. So obviously you're a songwriter in your own right, and you've teamed up with so many other writers, like you've written for Willie Nelson and Mick Jagger. I mean, is there like, that must feel really good still to this day.
It is, and I think the main thing is it's all about the relationships that I've built because of those. The fact that I've learned at the feet of people like Carlos and people like Mick and people like Willie, and been able to sit down and sit in an intimate moment of their life and watch how they write a song and watch how they go about it, how they approach it. It's an invaluable thing. It's like you can't find it in school. You can, my son goes to Berklee College of Music, and he's not getting that kind of education that I could get from just sitting and watching how Mick Jagger crafts a song. So I think for all of those things, it's not about some sort of an outside-in accolade. It's just about the idea that I got to do that and I got to learn and become better by hanging around with those kind of people.
So your son's into music.
Yeah, he's a good guitar player. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Did you teach him a thing or two while growing up?
No, I was completely against the whole idea of him playing music as a living, because I thought it's something that I had to wind up doing, and no matter how different you think you are, you grow up and you become a parent, and you're like, oh, I just want good things for you. I just But he stuck with it, and he was really good, and now he's a junior at Berklee College of Music. He's a great guitar player, but he's also he's learning a lot of different things peripheral to playing music, as a word in publishing law and music law, and working on everything. Like he can go into a studio now and anywhere in the country, and he can learn how to run that studio. So that's, at least I know that he's spending my money wisely.
Yeah. Well, it's a really smart thing to do, because these days you can't just be a one-trick pony. You feel like you need to know everything. So
yeah, like that was my thing, that I really didn't have something to fall back on. Like a lot of the guys, in my band, in my solo band, and in Matchbox, like Kyle Cook is an unbelievably accomplished musician, and I always was amazed that no matter where Kyle went, he could jump up on any stage. Like we were in London, and we went and saw Carlos play at Wembley Arena, and he got up with Carlos, and then Jimmy Page jumped up with them, and the three of them were like up jamming on Maggot Brain, and it was just like, I can't do that. Like I can't just jump up and write a song with Carlos on stage in front of a lot of people. I got to go do that alone. Then I've got to record it. Then I've got to bring it in. Then I have to, people have to like it and want to come see it. There's a lot that has to happen there. I can't just jump up and shine.
Well, you did have a lot of success with Smooth, and this is the 20th anniversary of that song.
Can we for a second?
Yeah.
Can we sink that in for a second?
Yeah.
The 20th anniversary of Smooth. I just want to point out, however old you think you are, add 5 years to that, and that's where we all are right now. Okay. I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page.
Right. I think everybody feels like that. We were talking about it earlier, like 20 years. It just feels like it was yesterday. Does it feel like that for you?
It really does. I mean, I think I was like literally 4 nights ago, I was talking to Carlos about it, and it was just this crazy thing of like, oh yeah, that happened a lot longer ago than we kind of remember it. Like it feels like we were just out, a couple summers ago, premiering it for people on the road.
Would you have any idea that it would have hit as big as it did when you were writing that?
No, you never know those kind of things, I think. And even then, any success that I've ever had, that was the only thing of that magnitude that I've ever been a part of. Like before Smooth, Matchbox 20 had our first record. We sold like 13, 15 million records. We thought that was the pinnacle of what it takes, but I saw what the power of one song with a legend like Carlos could do. And then all of that paled in comparison to this one song that we did at being a part of his moment. That was a great moment for him, and I just got to be a part of that.
And it seems like you guys stay in touch. The fact that you're
we're very good friends. He's good friends with me, good friends with my family. He comes out to shows. We get up and play with each other. Like we call each other for advice. That's I think the best thing that's ever come out of Smooth, from any of the accolades, from any of the success, is just the fact that I got a really good friend and mentor out of that whole thing.
Great. And it's one of those songs that's kind of like come back too. There's like, people, it doesn't go away.
Yeah, no, we were sick of it I mean, when I say we, I mean we, all of us. Like it came out and we was like, oh, that's a catchy tune. And then there was like a whole 5 to 10 year period where we're just like, I never want to hear that again. I want to bury it somewhere. And then it came back on year 15, and you're like, it's a pretty good song. It's like, but there was a period in the middle where it was almost a parody of itself. It had gotten so big.
But now there's like enough time away from it that it's sort of like new again.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, for me.
Yeah.
Because I honestly couldn't listen to it for a long time. Like, I still played it. There's a lot of songs like that, like with Matchbox songs and Smooth. Like, there's a song like Real World. I can never hear Real World again, and I'm totally fine. But I love playing it every night. I enjoy like that the experience of me and the fans like sharing it together. I just don't have to hear that recording of it again, because it's still live. It can breathe every night. It can be something different, but that recording is capped in time forever. Like whatever, however young I was very Southern on that first record. So everything was like, it's 3 a.m. I'm gonna her. Like there's a lot of that going on in that first record.
Well, you're going out on tour very soon behind this new album. What can we expect on the road? I know you just announced a ton of dates.
Yeah, we're gonna go out with Abby Anderson, who is a singer, songwriter, country star about to happen. I'm just a fan of her writing and thought that she'd be a great addition to the tour. I have the same solo band that I've had since 2004. It's the same guys that I'm bringing out. We have a couple new singers, but for the most part, it's the exact same group. So I've been lucky enough to go from family to family, from Matchbox back to this band and back and forth. And our brand is love. It's all about joy, and it's all about love, and it's all about everyone in the room trying to experience this moment of joy that we're trying to experience right now ourselves. And when it happens, that's hopefully how it comes off, that we're all just about positivity and love and kind of celebrating life in the little moment that we all have together.
That's cool. Do you feel like that positivity and those themes influenced this record?
Yeah, I mean, I think it influenced my butt.
It's you're channeling Bruce Springsteen there.
I'm a little. I did not think this through when I made the record, that I would be spending so much time right next to my butt all the time.
What do you guys think of the
No,
album cover?
no,
Yeah?
no.
You're into it, right? I
No,
like
it's
it.
all creative.
We don't mind looking at it.
Don't get creepy. Don't make it weird. Don't make it weird.
Don't make it weird. Chip Tooth Smile, though. That's an interesting title. What was behind that?
When I was like 19 years old, I chipped this tooth. And it's still chipped, but it's weaned down over the years. Like it kind of, gets whittled down. But when I finally made enough money, and after I met my wife, that I got off the road and I was going to get some dental work done, the one thing that she said that I couldn't do was fix my chipped tooth, because she liked it. She said it was part of my personality. It was part of my smile. So she said she always called it my chipped tooth smile.
That's so sweet. Oh, my gosh.
Aw, isn't that sweet?
That's really sweet.
I know. I'm friggin' adorable.
What's even sweeter is that you guys just celebrated 20 years. Is that correct?
Well, we celebrate 20 years of dating, and then this October will be 20 years married.
Wow, that's amazing. Especially in this industry, I feel. Like, what do you think is the secret to the longevity of your marriage?
I honestly feel that in the job that I have, it's a little easier. The hours are good. We spend a lot more time together. We get to travel together. We get to see the world together. So we have these experiences that are shared experiences. Even as much as we do spend a time apart, like like I have to go away sometimes for 2 weeks at a time, and we try to never spend more than 2 weeks apart. But I think like there's never that sense of like worrying. And this is going to sound really weird, but I think a lot of times people have problems in their marriage and they get into a rut. And they don't know what could be. They don't know what's out there for them, like the other possibilities of a life that's unlived. And I see that I'm a viable option out on the dating marketplace. So I don't need to go figure that out. Like it's nice. I get to find that, not because I think that highly of myself, but just because I'm like, well, at least I know that I could date a girl. And so it becomes more about like, what are our shared experiences in life? What is it that continues our friendship more than anything? Because the only reason that we survived is because she's my best friend. And having your best friend with you all the time is way more important than just having someone who's designated as a spouse.
Yeah.
So I think as long as we stay best friends, we'll stay married forever.
I think that's good advice for a lot of people who are in relationships. You got to like the person.
You got to like the person. You got to want to talk to this person all the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you have to want to have a conversation with this person all the time, because you're going to all the time. And I still like wake up and crack up because she'll do something after 20 years that still makes me just kind of amazed. I'm like, I'm amazed at how your mind works. I'm amazed at how smart you are and how funny you are. Sometimes just out of nowhere.
And challenging yourself too, like challenging each other. You guys are passionate about dogs. I know you have your foundation.
Yep.
What's going on with that? And what can we tell people about rescuing dogs and pets?
Well, Sidewalk Angels Foundation, we just partnered with the Humane Society of the United States, which is a really big partner for us because we're still very grassroots. It's me, my wife, and her mother, and we've managed to raise millions of dollars just with the three of us, because everything that we get through all the if we do a show for Sidewalk Angels, all that money goes straight to that. We don't have overhead, we don't have offices, we don't have any of that. So we have that, and we just also partnered with the Global Lyme Alliance to talk about Lyme disease and tick-borne diseases and how they relate to your children as well as your animals, and how those things come together. But if you want to check out sidewalkangelsfoundation.org, that's a good place to go, not just to find out about what we're doing, because you can donate to us, but also everyone that we support that's on our website that you can find awareness about, that money goes straight to them. So if you go on and you find something in your backyard that you want to go support, you can go directly and support them as well. So it's just a good way to find out how we can move one step closer every day to figuring out how to be a no-kill nation, where we have all shelters are no-kill shelters, and all animals that don't have homes wind up having at least a temporary home until they have a forever home.
That's such a great mission. Yes, right? Absolutely. We're really excited about this solo album. How do you know whether it's going to be a Matchbox 20 song, whether it's going to be a Rob Thomas solo song, and how do you kind of balance that out? Because you've been able to navigate both very successfully for several years now.
It's really not up to me.
Yeah.
It's up to Paul and Kyle and Pookie in Matchbox 20. Like, those guys, I write all the time. They write all the time. We're always writing, and then it's literally like we just dump the bag out when it's time to start a record and go, okay, where are we at? And I'll play, like, if I would have played Lonely No More, which is my first solo record single, I think they probably would have been like, yeah, that's not for us. That's not what we want to do. So I think you just write all the time. You write your best songs. I think if you try to call it, I'm not that good of a writer. I'm not good enough to say, well, today I'm not going to write a song for this. I'm going to write a song for this. Like, I just write songs that come to me, and then we see if anything that I'm doing fits what they want to do. Yeah. And I think because we've let that happen that way, it's always worked out pretty good for us.
One last question before I get to the audience Q&A. The longevity of Matchbox 20 and your solo career, like, to what do you owe that? Why you got, so many bands break up. Why are you guys still rocking?
Well, I mean, on our side, it's just because we like each other.
Yeah.
I mean, and we've gone through times where we didn't. Like Matchbox 20, I think on my last solo record, going into it, we broke up. Kyle left the band. We were really on the edge. And Paul, who is my best friend in the world, we weren't speaking for like a year and a half. That hasn't happened in over 20 years. And somehow we just got together and we just talked it out, and now we're closer than we've ever been. I think because of that, we'll stay together. The only reason that we're successful is because we have some of the greatest fans ever, and they've been with us for 20 years. I look out in the audience and I see people that are 60-something years old because they were my age when our first record came out, and you see people in their 40s because they were in their 20s, and you guys understand how math works, right? So, but it's an amazing thing to say, because in 20 years, that's a lifetime of stuff that happens. That's love and loss and new kids that come into your life, and so we've been a part of that and shared this with a lot of people over the last 20 years, and I think that has a lot to do. Once we've ingrained ourselves, we didn't just ingrain ourselves, they ingrained ourselves in us, and we see familiar faces when we look out. We don't just see, a sea of adoring fans.
Yeah. Well, let's get to those fans, because those fans have some questions for you. Who's first?
Am I first? Well, hi, Rob.
Speaking of familiar, how you doing?
You sort of already answered this, but I wanted to know, when did you first meet Butch Walker, and how much of his producing influenced your new album?
Okay, when I first met Butch Walker probably over 20 years ago, when they were starting the Marvelous Three, and they were an Atlanta band, and Matchbox 20 was just starting out, and he used to have this thing where he had like a stage persona, and it wasn't really him, and he got on stage one night and just said something horrible about our band, and it followed him around for years, and we didn't care. But to this day, he'll still apologize to me every time he sees me. But about like 8 or 10 years later, my wife and I are walking down the beach in Hawaii, and we just see Butch on the beach playing with his son, who was like a baby at the time. And it was, what? And so we wound up hanging out that whole vacation together, and this had to be like over 10 years ago now. And we just really reconnected, and became really great friends. And so I was working with Matt Serletic on all the stuff I was doing solo. When I started to make this record, I started to write this record, I just went around telling everybody that Butch Walker was going to produce this record. I just never told Butch about it. But I was doing interviews on radio. I was like, oh yeah, I got a new record coming out. Butch Walker's going to produce it. It's going to be great. And so then I had to call Butch, and I was like, okay, listen, you can't say no to this now, because I've told everybody that you're doing this. And literally on my walk in here, my phone buzzes, and I look at it, and Butch, he's going, I love you, man. Like, he's pretty great. He informs everything. This record is me. I wrote all these songs. Almost every instrument except for some of the drums is Butch Walker. He plays everything on there. He is the band. It's me and Butch. Like, it's the most solo you're gonna get. It's me and one other guy.
Awesome. Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks for that great question. Who's next? Right here.
Hi.
Hey, what's
How
going
are
on?
you? So I want to know, how do you think your songwriting process has changed from the beginning to now?
I think I try to find more ways to surprise myself now than I used to have to. Like, it used to be easy just to go to the well and just pick up a guitar, or go to the piano and just start writing a song. But now you start thinking too much of the mechanics of it, and I start thinking about the chords more than I'm thinking about the melody, and I'm starting like, oh, well, I kind of done that, or this sounds like this, or that. So now I start like trying to surprise myself. I'll go in the studio and just like work up a drum track, and then like maybe do a little bass track under it, and start building a track, and then start writing a melody to that. So sometimes I'll write it kind of backwards. Sometimes I'll get some of my friends who are great producers and take some of their tracks and see if I can write songs, even stuff that I never put on my record. Like, when I write, like for this record, I had over 60 songs that I've completely written that were done, most of them demoed out, they were fully done, just to get these 12 songs. So I just think you just write, and find any way you can to surprise yourself.
Awesome. Thank you.
Great. All right.
Who were your musical influences growing up? Who influenced your vocal style, and who are your favorite voices?
Probably a lot of those are the same. Like, I was a big 80s head. So I grew up in the South. So at first, until I was like 12 years old, I didn't know there was anything but old country. Like, it wasn't old country then, it was new. But, you know, like Willie Nelson and Waylon Jennings and Conway Twitty, and like these were the people that I thought, you know, these were the great storytellers. Then I was a teenager, and it was all like English alt music. It was all like The Cure and Susie and the Banshees, and like, you know. And then I went through a giant punk phase for a while, and it was all Dead Kennedys, Black Flag, and then I became just an 80s radio head. Then it just became pop music, and 80s pop music in particular, and like late 70s singer-songwriter stuff. So all of those things kind of came together. Like, I think it comes down to, like, I think my voice, I really just tried to be somewhere between Elton John and Tracy Chapman for as long as I could, until I figured out what my actual voice was going to be. But on that first record, I instead I wound up sounding more like Cher, because everything was like, like, I could have done a killer if I could turn back time. I would have nailed it.
It's never too late. All right, we got time for one last question.
Hi. I heard, I love the song These Small Hours, and I heard that it was inspired by losing your dog, and that your wife cries each time she hears it. Is
every
it true?
time.
I was just wondering if that's true.
Yeah, it's not. It was Little Wonders. It was this Tyler, this dog here. It was before he passed away. It was just this moment that I had when I was on the road, and I was walking him, and I'd just gotten off stage, so I felt like I was a rock star. And then 10 minutes later, I was out in the rain walking my dog, trying to get him to poop, and I felt like less of a rock star. And I was just in this moment where I was very upset, and then I looked over at him, and he was so happy. And now, you know, I lost him. I would do anything to have that moment back. And I realized in that moment that he was hip to something that I was not. He was realizing that we were in the middle of a great moment, and I was letting it go by. And so that was where Little Wonders, you know, that it's all about these small hours. It's all about these little wonders that make that happen.
Thanks for that great question. As a dog lover and someone who lost their dog a couple of years ago, I can relate to that.
It's
so you don't realize those small
It is
moments.
heartbreaking, and it stays heartbreaking.
Yes. It never gets old.
I've lost my mother, and that stays heartbreaking. But I still say losing my dog is still heartbreaking. It really is.
It really is. Well, we are so excited that you spent the afternoon with us. This has been so great.
Thank you guys for braving the cold.
Thank
That
you
was
for
really
those
cool.
great questions. One Less Day is the name of the single. The album is out in April, and you can catch Rob Thomas on tour this year. So give it up one more time, everyone. Rob Thomas.